2018 John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame dinner. My name is Chris Wensler. I'm the Assistant Athletic Director here at John Carroll, as well as a proud member of the class of 1990. I'll be serving as your Master of Ceremonies this evening as we honor both athletic contribution and excellence. This event continues to be one that all of us who work in the athletic department look forward to each year. Personally, this is my 27th dinner, which I've been a part of, and I continue to honor and enjoy what this event means to each and every person present here this evening. What if? Think of the power of those two words put together. When what and if are separated, they're a little bit innocent, don't mean too much, but when they're put together, they carry a great deal of power. They could produce anxiety or fear. What if I don't pass this test? They could also provide hope. What if the Browns are actually good this year? The what if scenario can also be a fun way to predict an alternative timeline in our lives. What if Ron Zwerline hadn't knocked on doors looking for swimmers? What if Christy Brannon had gone to Muskingum instead of John Carroll? What if Don McPhillips already had a job when Tony DiCarlo called? What if Cyril Pinchak's sister hated track? What if Mike Markovic's high school teammates had been interested in a different college? What if Michelle Petrillo had stuck with soccer? What if Dave Vitito had never contracted mononucleosis? What if Amy Marcellus had stayed local and not ventured out of New Jersey? And what if Ali Khamenei didn't have a reason to leave Iran? At those junctures, paths changed. Lives were altered. And all of us at John Carroll University benefited from their presence, both in and out of their fields, courts, and mats of play. Whatever you may subscribe to, coincidence, fate, God's plan, all of our inductees tonight are here because of how their lives played out when choices were made on many divergent levels. Lao Tzu reminds us to allow the process of life to unfold organically and not to spend it second-guessing. Life is a series of natural and spontaneous changes. Don't resist them. That only creates sorrow. Let reality be reality. Let things flow naturally forward in what way they will. For all of us here tonight who bear witness to the induction of our 6 student athletes, 1 coach, 1 trainer, and 1 team, we can attest that the way their careers flowed led them to this very night, and a very deserving journey it has been. Each inductee has a story to tell. Our team does as well. And it is why we have gathered tonight, to celebrate their achievements, to celebrate what it took to get here, and to celebrate their consistent effort to be great. As we honor this athletic excellence this evening, I would impart the following advice to our inductees. Truly appreciate this moment in your lives. After all, how many more times in your life will there be when you are the absolute center of attention? Or where you will be praised so openly with so many people in attendance? But never forget that this night was simply not about you and you alone. There were family and friends whose love and support proved to be invaluable to the success we celebrate. And when terms are used like sacrifice and perseverance, adversity and disappointment, jubilation and validation, those terms are never used in a singular vein. These journeys have all been shared. So it is with great pride that we salute not just those being honored this evening, we salute all those who have been part of this journey, because this occasion is a tribute to all of our athletic traditions. At this time, it is my privilege to introduce someone I hope all of you have an opportunity to meet, either tonight or this weekend if you've not met her already. She was hired in April, started in July, and already feels like she's been here longer than 3 months because she has absolutely hit the ground running. Please welcome the Senior Director of Varsity Athletics and Recreation at John Carroll University, Michelle Morgan.
Well, I didn't fall, so that's a plus. Thank you, Chris. Good evening, friends, Hall of Famers, and Blue Streak family. It is with great pride that I'm here with you this evening. I've been here a short time, but I can already tell you that John Carroll Athletics is a place that's rich with tradition, a tradition that all of you are a part of. The contributions made by many people in attendance tonight have helped to weave the tapestry that is our vibrant story. Tonight is a very special night as we celebrate the success of former athletes, coaches, and administrators. Inductees, it is your night. Tonight we honor the countless hours of dedication to your sport or discipline and the many milestones and accomplishments along the way. As we celebrate tonight, it's also important to say thank you. Thank you for representing John Carroll with the utmost pride and character. Thank you for living our mission, and thank you for paving the way while you continue to inspire the next generation of Blue Streak athletes. I hope tonight is a night that you will always remember, and congratulations to all the men and women that we honor this weekend. It is now my privilege to introduce the next speaker of the evening, Dr. Michael D. Johnson, the 25th president of John Carroll University. Dr. Johnson is a transformative academic leader who has cultivated collaborative and supportive cultures at institutions throughout his career. As it stands today, more than half of the 28 Jesuit colleges and universities in the United States now have lay leadership. Dr. Johnson comes to John Carroll University having served as the provost at Babson College, a private college in Wellesley, Massachusetts, known nationally for outstanding entrepreneurship programs. Prior to Babson, Dr. Johnson was the dean of the prestigious Cornell School of Hotel Administration, where he raised the stature of the program to be the global leader in hospitality education. He began his career as an academic and thought leader as a professor of marketing for more than 24 years at the Ross School of Business at the University of Michigan. It was in Ann Arbor that he met his wife, Jill, who holds a law degree from the University of Michigan. Together, the Johnsons are advocates for the well-being of student athletes, having raised 3 sons, all of whom have played sports at Cornell. They have a keen understanding of what it takes to develop and support a student athlete and the positive impact that athletics can have on a university and a community. If you haven't seen them already, you can see Dr. Johnson and Jill at many of our home athletic events, and they truly are 2 of our biggest fans. I look forward to working with him to strengthen our athletic programs, to create new opportunities for our student athletes, coaches, and staff, to ensure sustained championship opportunities for all 23 of our varsity teams. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the president of John Carroll University, Dr. Michael D. Johnson.
Thank you, Michelle. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a pleasure to be working with all of the athletic department staff and making our programs, not only what they are, but make them even better and better over time. It's amazing what our teams have accomplished. We've won multiple OAC team championships in recent years. We even had a 2-1 overtime soccer victory over Mount Union the other day, which was a real special treat. Tonight's is a special experience for me, as Michelle said. As a sports family, we had 3 high school football players, a couple of college football players, and a club lacrosse players. And we've been there when the injuries were there. We've been there when the successes were there. We've been through seasons that didn't go well. But we've loved absolutely every minute of it. We remember wind coming 50 miles an hour sideways at homecoming games, and still just some of the absolute best times of our lives being sports parents. It's an exciting time for John Carroll too, as we approach the 100th anniversary of the athletic programs here. 2019 will mark the 100th anniversary, and as we look to the future, I have high hopes of what our student athletes will accomplish. Someone asked me recently what has surprised us the most, and the first one really shouldn't be a surprise, but it is the students and the student athletes. I got a note just this past week from a football mom whose young man was injured just before the season started, about the amazing support he got, not only from his freshman classmates, but from the junior and senior classmates here, and how they supported the young man and helped him sort of get through a period that's difficult because he looks so much forward to it, to playing football right away. But he'll be back on the gridiron soon. Participation in sport pushes you to the limit. It teaches you to balance responsibilities, makes you a better teammate, and exposes you to different leadership styles, worldviews, and perspectives. What makes John Carroll student athletes so special in this environment is our Jesuit heritage and what it cultivates in terms of them. JCU athletics is where concepts such as cura personalis, caring for the whole person, the magia, striving always to do better in everything we do, where they come together. Our student athletes strive to be what I call inspired leaders. At John Carroll, we demand more from them. We expect that their growth as leaders and teammates won't stop when the final whistle blows. When applied on the field, in the classroom, and in the workplace, inspired leadership is the development of a high-performance team. It's leading by example. It's inspiring other people to follow what you do. Without this mentality, you can't build a championship team. This was tested and proven by successful individual athletes and successful teams who we honor here tonight. Christy, Amy, Mike, Michelle, Cyril, Allie, Dave, Don, and all of our 1981 swimmers, congratulations. Let's give them a round of applause. You are true examples of inspired leadership. You displayed the character, drive, and passion necessary to take your individual game, team, and the people around you to the next level. On behalf of the entire John Carroll community, I want to express our gratitude for your hard work and commitment to being a Blue Streak. Tonight, we honor these efforts as you are enshrined in our Athletic Hall of Fame. You are role models for the current and next generation of John Carroll student athletes, coaches, and staff. Enjoy the evening. Thank you again, and I'd like to welcome Father Bernie McAniff from the Society of Jesus to the podium to do our invocation. Thank you very much.
Tonight we celebrate a number of athletes, a number of star athletes this university graduated, and also the spirit of place that this university embodies. A spirit of place that not only exists as an essence, but as an essence that does. Surely that spirit of place is palpable in the women and men who have played on John Carroll's courts, gym floors, and fields, who have run, hurled, swam, and dived here. And tonight we remember that we all rest on the shoulders of great men and women before us. People like Tony DiCarlo, Don Shula, Mike Moran, Lori Massa. Tonight we gather to celebrate and induct a new harvest of Hall of Fame inductees. We recognize them for their double impact, what they've done here, and how they continue to give honor to God and to John Carroll in the way they lead their lives. May they offer their achievements, their life stories, as shoulders upon which the rising generation may stand. Lord, bless this meal we are about to eat, the wine we are about to drink, and bless our distinguished alumni, their families, friends, and guests. Please deign to bless this university, that she may continue to instill a spirit of place which is generous, which is kind, which doesn't count the cost, which doesn't seek for rest, and desires, in the end, to give you back the glory. Through Christ our Lord.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed their dinner, and we are ready to get started here with our ceremony. And tonight's ceremony is being sponsored by the Blue Gold Club, the official booster organization of John Carroll Athletics. And to officially welcome you this evening, as well as saying a few words to you as well, I now invite up the Blue Gold president, a former student athlete from the track and field and cross country program, and from the class of 2004, Mr. Drew Poppleton.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for coming to the 2018 Athletic Hall of Fame dinner. This is the Blue Gold Club's signature recognition event, and we are truly honored to be your host tonight. First and foremost, we are here to recognize an incredibly accomplished class of inductees that represents athletic excellence from every level, from the student athlete to the coach to the administrator, all the way up to the entire team. Congratulations to Christy, Don, Cyril, Mike, Michelle, Dave, Amy, Ali, and the 1981 men's swimming and diving team. And while I have the opportunity, I would like to recognize those who helped make this event possible tonight. Many thanks to Michelle Morgan, Chris Wensler, Dana Funyak, Rory O'Neill, Candace Pluhar, the Blue Gold Club Executive Committee, and the entire Hall of Fame Selection Committee. Thank you. Chris opened the ceremony by asking us to consider scenarios in which our inductees might have been prevented from achieving the athletic excellence for which we are honoring them tonight. He drew our attention to the many factors at play in the lives of student athletes, coaches, and administrators, and the importance of a single decision. For us on the Blue Gold Club Executive Committee, the factor we hope never prevents our student athletes from achieving athletic excellence is funding. When the answer to the question, what if we don't put up this new softball fence, is no home games, extra travel, further time away from studies, and a lower fan base, well, we take that decision very seriously. And we make it knowing that that decision could be the difference between heading to the playoffs or heading home early. Now, I'm not going to ask you to ponder any more what-ifs tonight, but I am going to ask you to help us keep our commitment to ensuring that funding is always an enhancement to athletic excellence and never a hindrance. So if you are not already a member of the Blue Gold Club, I ask you to please join us and invest in the future of John Carroll Athletics. There are membership forms at your table if you feel so moved this evening, but we will also be on the tennis courts tomorrow afternoon for the tailgate from 11 to 1. So please come and join us. And again, thank you and congratulations to this class of inductees.
Thank you, Drew. As we begin our induction ceremony, I ask you to all take a moment and reflect on what it is we're doing here tonight. What is the purpose of the Hall of Fame? It is to honor, to celebrate, and to remember. We are honoring achievement, the victories, the awards, what has been accomplished individually and collectively. All those being honored here tonight achieved something greater than ordinary. We are celebrating life. Former Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren was once quoted as saying, "I always turn to the sports page first. The sports page records people's accomplishments. The front page, nothing but man's failures." Sports, at its essence, is meant to be played for joy. So tonight, we celebrate that joy. We remember, beyond the scores, there were teammates and coaches, where lifelong bonds were formed within the arena of competition. We remember the good times and the not so good times, but we choose to remember these days as some of the best of our lives. The Hall of Fame preserves all of this. Of all the athletes and coaches and administrators who have represented our school since John Carroll instituted an intercollegiate athletic program over 90 years ago, only 266 have been elected into the Hall of Fame. Tonight, we add 8 more. Of all the teams who have represented our school since John Carroll instituted an intercollegiate athletic program over 90 years ago, only 12 have been elected into the Hall of Fame. Tonight, we add number 13. As a last point of emphasis, it is important to underscore how deserving each of our inductees are by briefly explaining the selection process. Each year, the Hall of Fame committee undertakes the task of electing a worthy induction class into the Hall of Fame. To be eligible for the Hall of Fame, a student athlete must have been 10 years removed from his or her graduation, and the criteria includes impact on a program, honors and accolades, level of competition, leadership, and community involvement and citizenship. The committee, which consists of over 20 members, begins this assignment in January by compiling a list of candidates that have been assembled through online submissions by mail, and research done by the Sports Information Office. This year, more than 50 candidates were on the original ballot. Through a series of meetings, the names of the athletes were steadily reduced, and the names are pared down to a final 20, at which time the final votes are cast. At these meetings, Hall of Fame teams are also voted upon. And what you are witness to this evening are the results of the exhausting yet worthwhile process. And so we begin. Brian Stuckey was an assistant wrestling coach for a number of years in the late 1990s and early 2000s at John Carroll under Kerry Volkman, and I was privileged to be able to stand alongside him when our first inductee wrestled at an Ohio Athletic Conference championship one year. As Mike Markovic appeared to be losing almost to the point of being pinned, I said to Brian, "This doesn't look good." To which Brian simply said, "Just watch." Within a few seconds, Mike somehow extracted himself from a near fall and completely turned the tables on his opponent, pinning him before the end of the period. Brian turned to me, smiled, and said, "That's Mike Markovic for you." For 4 years, that was Mike Markovic. He was a 3-time national qualifier for the John Carroll wrestling team, earning All-American status by placing 4th in the nation as a junior. A 4-time letter winner and 3-time starter, he ended his career with 77 victories. His 32 wins as a senior marked one of the top 10 seasons in school history, and his 41 pins was a JCU record. A highly decorated student athlete, Mike was the most outstanding wrestler for John Carroll twice and was most valuable wrestler in 2001. In 2002, he was the male recipient for the Clyde Lamb Award, which is the highest honor the league bestows on a student athlete who competed at an Ohio Athletic Conference institution. He was a 3-time conference champion as well as a 3-time academic All-OAC winner, an NWA National Scholar 3 times, and a COSIDA Academic All-America Team selection 3 times. Mike wrestled for 2 OAC wrestling championship teams in 1999 and 2002, and on a team that placed in the top 25 of the nation 3 different times. Although he could not be here this evening, Mike is deeply honored by this induction, and we are pleased to welcome him to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame. To be good at one sport is difficult enough. To be good at 2 is something most of us can only dream of. Now imagine being good enough to be inducted into a Hall of Fame for being good at 2 sports. That is what Christy Branham pulled off here tonight. She was a standout in track and field and in volleyball, and her athleticism in both carried her to great heights, both literally and figuratively. In track and field, she was an NCAA Division III National Provisional Qualifier in both 2002 and 2000. And she reigned as the All-Ohio Pole Vault champion 2 different years, where she set the All-Ohio record with her winning vault both times. She was also the conference pole vault champion and earned All-OAC in the pole vault 5 other times, 2-time outdoor and 3-time indoor. She still holds the school record for indoor and outdoor pole vault to this day, and she was a 4-year letter winner in that sport. On the volleyball court, she was 2nd team All-Conference in 2000 and played on OAC tournament qualifiers in 2000, 2001, and 2002, with the best finish in OAC semifinal appearance in 2001. She was a 4-year letter winner and 2-time captain in volleyball, as well as the volleyball team MVP in 2000. She graduated with the program record for career service aces and ranked in the top 10 in program history in kills and, for good measure, in solo blocks. Please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame from the class of 2003, Christy Branham.
This is really high. Thank you, Chris. I am so thankful that you could be here tonight. Thank you to the Hall of Fame Committee for this amazing honor, and congratulations to all of my fellow inductees. 51 years ago, on October 7th, 1967, probably in a ceremony much like this one, Russell Sherman, a tackle for John Carroll, was elected to the Hall of Fame. I walked past his picture and many others in the Hall of Fame hallway more times than I can count. But every time I walked past his plaque, I thought how special it would be to join my grandfather in the Hall of Fame. I thought about it all the time. But I didn't really ever think it would happen. And here we are today, and I am still in shock and shaking. I still can't believe that I get to stand up here along with my fellow inductees tonight and join the Hall of Fame. John Carroll's Hall of Fame is filled with national champions and All-Americans, and I am neither. My teams didn't win any conference championships, but I was the first female pole vaulter at John Carroll, and I think that's pretty special. Considering I didn't even come to John Carroll to pole vault, I came to play volleyball. Coach Gretchen Whitebreck recruited me, and it came down to Muskingum and Carroll. I had friends going to Carroll, it was closer to home, and it just seemed like the better fit. I'm pretty sure I made the right choice. After our first season of volleyball, my teammate and new friend Beth was considering high jumping. So I went to indoor practice with her in the Rexplex gym. I'm not entirely sure how it all went down, but it was the first year that vaulting was sanctioned in the NCAA, and I heard that one of my coaches was a national champion vaulter, and the other was his coach. How could I say no to that? And that yes turned into so many laughs during our track practices. Coach Jim Yarnell and Coach Matt Lemieux like to quote Tommy Boy all the time. I will never forget one practice, we were at Oberlin. They had an indoor facility and we didn't. I was practicing with a bungee cord, and at times I was not the most graceful vaulter, I will admit that. My foot got caught in the bungee cord and it snapped right across my face. Coach Arnell said, "Oh, are you okay?" I said, "Yeah, but my face hurts." He said, "Well, where does it hurt?" Clearly, he could see where it hurt, but I pointed it out. He then proceeds to turn to Coach Matt and say, not here so much, but right here." I, of course, had no idea what they were talking about, so I had to go home and Google it. And, there was just never a dull moment with them. As for volleyball, I made some of the best friends. We were such a tight-knit group of girls. We laughed and many times cried together. We won some really awesome games and lost some really tough ones. But in the end, we always had the best ace cheers. And I grew as a person and teammate playing with such amazing women. Inevitably, I would not be standing up here today if it weren't for some very special people. I want to thank my coaches, Coach Whitebreck, who I can't see, but she's down there somewhere. Oh, there she is. Who brought me here, and Coach Lemieux and Coach Arnell, who could not be here tonight, for putting up with me. I want to thank my teammates and my friends who are here supporting me tonight. Beth, my partner in crime throughout college, and my teammate in both sports. Jack was my vaulting buddy. Some of the bad jokes were moved over to him my junior year, so that was nice that I didn't have to be the brunt of them all the time. Brooke, who I've known since high school, and Jenny, we go way back to grade school. Thank you all for being here tonight. Most importantly, I want to thank my family, my husband John, my in-laws Tom and Karen, my sister Casey, and brother-in-law Ben, who traveled from San Diego to be here tonight. Thank you. And finally, my wonderful mother Karen, and my dad, who is no longer with us. You guys traveled all over the place, went to all my games, sat in the rain and the cold weather. You even volunteered to buy me a new pole when I outgrew my first one. If it wasn't for the love and support that you've provided me my entire life, I would not be the person, athlete, wife, sister, and mother that I am today. So thank you. I finally get to walk that hallway and see my grandfather's plaque alongside mine. It's such a truly great honor. Thank you.
Women's soccer began at John Carroll in 1989, but it truly arrived 10 years later. What began as a push by undergraduates to make soccer a part of the intercollegiate athletic program culminated with John Carroll challenging for a conference title 10 years later. It first started in 1999, then hosting a conference final in 2000, and then breaking through with a title and an NCAA championship appearance in 2001. Anchoring that defense of those John Carroll women's soccer teams was Amy Marcellus. In her senior year, she was named Defensive Player of the Year in the OAC, helping John Carroll record 9 shutouts that season. She was a first-team All-Great Lakes Region selection in her senior year and an All-Ohio second team that same year. And she was named All-Conference 3 different times over the course of her career. As a sophomore, she made the second team, and then she followed it up with first-team selections in her 2000 and 2001 seasons. The teams she played for were OAC regular season champions in 2000 and OAC tournament champions in 2001. Over the course of her 4 years, the Blue Streaks won 45 games and qualified for the OAC tournament all 4 seasons. Amy was a 4-year starter and letter winner, a 3-time team defensive MVP, and the team tri-captain in 2001. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame from the class of 2002, Amy Marcellus.
Good evening. I couldn't be happier to stand where I am standing right now. Receiving the call this past spring to let me know that I'm being inducted into the Hall of Fame at John Carroll was something that I thought about, but it's hard to believe that I'm up here this evening, and I am incredibly grateful for this honor. John Carroll has always been a huge part of my life, but the significance right now is at a different level. It's definitely changed. Over the last few months, I've reflected multiple times on my experiences at John Carroll as both an athlete and a student. The one takeaway that I continuously come back to is that your accomplishments are not significant if you can't get out of yourself to acknowledge those that got you there. To my parents, Eileen and William, thank you. Thank you for your unconditional support. The countless road trips you made to Cleveland and elsewhere in the wee hours of the morning, traveling from New Jersey with a car full of food for the team is representative of your generosity, your graciousness, and class. You exposed me to Jesuit institutions as a young child, from St. Joe's to Loyola to Boston College, and instilled the value of a liberal arts education. It has gotten me where I am today and has shaped my perspective as an educator, a parent, and a friend. To my sisters, Monica and Kiki, I have always felt your support. We grew up being there at events in one another's lives. I can picture you in the stands cheering. Thank you for moving your schedules around to be in attendance for my games, for getting speeding tickets on the Ohio Turnpike, and most importantly, for being with me my junior year after a triple overtime loss to Wilmington in the OAC tournament finals. That one definitely stung. Andy, you are you are retired from the Marine Corps now, and you have finally made it to Cleveland for an athletic event. But too bad that LeBron James is no longer here. To my coach, Tracy Blasius, you were a young coach, and you took a group of young athletes and you made us believe in one another. You always used to tell us to compartmentalize and to just hang it on a tree. It was great advice, and that came to fruition as we won the OAC tournament my senior year and earned the bin for NCAAs. And to Chris Wensler, I still have the email that you sent the team after that win. At the end you wrote, "To Kelly, Amy, and Jill, oh how sweet it is. It certainly was, and this is a pretty close second." To Jill Comerford and Sarah Bryant, I played in between you as a stopper for every game. I always felt confident knowing we were strong in front of me, on the field, as well as looking back. The bus trips, practices, and laughs are some of my happiest memories from college. And last, to my husband Ryan, Ironic that your last name is Carroll. It does confuse my high school students as they fail to connect the dots and realize that my maiden name is Marcellus. I hadn't met you yet, but I have shared so much about my athletic career and my life at John Carroll. You've always been supportive of my endeavors, both past and present, and that speaks volumes of your character. It also sets a positive example for our daughters, Maggie and Kathleen. It's so important for me that our children view their mother as a person with intellect, value, and a voice. You have consistently supported all of this in me, and for that I am eternally grateful. Congratulations to my fellow inductees. Thank you, and go Streaks.
You need to look no further than the professional football team located here in town to underscore the importance of a reliable kicker. Just someone you can turn to when you absolutely need that extra point or field goal. John Carroll had that guy in Dave Vitito. The 1997 playoff season was proof of that. Dave was a vital part of a very successful John Carroll football teams of the late 1990s, appearing in a school record 42 games and graduating as a school record holder for field goals in a career, extra points in a game season in career, and points scored by a kicker. His most productive year was 1998, when he received Division III All-American honors from multiple outlets, including Associated Press Little All-American. He was also the NCAA National Statistical Champion for field goals that season and was a first-team All-Region choice as well as a first-team All-Conference selection. The teams that he played on finished with a combined record of 32-10. Dave was a place kicker for that NCAA playoff team in 1997, helping the Blue Streaks reach the postseason for just the second time with his 27-yard game-winning field goal in overtime against Baldwin Wallace on the final Saturday of the regular season. He finished his career as the third all-time leading scorer in John Carroll football history and only the fourth player in the program's history to break 200 points. He converted at least one kick, either a PAT or a field goal, in all 42 games. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame from the class of 2000, Dave Vitito.
Longtime coach and faculty member Jerry Schweikert, who's been at John Carroll since the 1950s, was in my office recently and thought I'd take advantage of that and ask him for some, words of wisdom for this speech or a nugget I could take with me to help me out. So I said, Jerry, any advice on my speech? You've sat through so many of these dinners. And he looked at me and said, yeah, don't talk too long. And then he just left my office after that. Only to come back and say, if you do talk too long, can you at least be funny? So I'll do my best tonight, Coach Schweikert. Tonight, I simply want to thank three groups of people and then end with a story that I think will tie a bow on this whole thing. But first, a big thank you to the Hall of Fame Selection Committee. I have to believe that selecting a place kicker who had some makes and misses along the way wasn't exactly a no-brainer decision. But I can tell you that there's nobody this honor means more to than me. But there are some individuals who this probably means as much to, and that's my fellow honorees. Whether it was a window of greatness, sustained excellence over time, or lasting impact on your program and the university, tonight and forever, you are a Hall of Famer. I'm proud to stand with you, I congratulate you, and I thank you for your contributions to our alma mater. And it's a special treat to be going in alongside a JCU legend like Don McPhillips, and someone I followed as a kid down in Akron, attending many Cleveland Force games at the old Richfield Coliseum. Somewhere a picture exists of a 10-year-old me with Ali Kazamani in his bright yellow Force jersey after one of the Force games. So I think we need to recreate that photo tonight, Allie, if that's all right with you. Without the mullet haircuts this time, right? It was 1987. My family's here tonight. My brothers, Mike and Steve, both John Carroll alumni. Thank you for all your support over the years and for paving the way for this lifelong relationship with this university. My father-in-law is here. He's as excited as anybody for this honor, which is really cool. My two little girls, Julia and Olivia, are home right now, probably having a dance party to Taylor Swift. But my 8-year-old son is here. And Andrew, I love you, buddy. And let tonight show you that if you find something you enjoy doing and you're kind of good at it, whether it's sports or art or music or a subject in school, preferably a subject in school, and you work really hard, good things will happen. My lovely wife is here. I met her years later while working in Ann Arbor at the University of Michigan. So all these glory day football stories were, as I refer to it, about 7 years BC, or before Chrissy. So she's had to indulge me over the years with my stories about a big game we won or memorable teammates, probably wanting to roll her eyes or wish I'd just go empty the dishwasher and give the kids a bath already. But I know you're proud tonight. I know you love me, and I love you. And most importantly, my parents. We were middle class all the way. You didn't take many vacations or drive fancy cars, but you found a way to send 3 boys through St. Hilary Grade School, Walsh Jesuit High School, and John Carroll University. And I know you loved being a part of this football family too, watching us play on Saturdays and tailgating with other parents like the Schneiders and the Ten Brinks and the Considines and others. So I hope that experience served as my small way of paying you back for all the sacrifices. I love you guys. I'm here tonight because I played on legendary teams with talented teammates, from Hall of Famers like Brian Filkowski and George Sample, Dave Ziegler, Tom Arth, and London Fletcher, to all-around great guys like Nick Caserio, Mark DiDonato, Tony Affatato, and many other Italians. I got a laugh out of Jerry. I know I did something right. I need to thank another teammate and Hall of Famer, Brian Sobolewski. Brian was inducted a few years ago. He's obviously played football, but mainly because he was the national champ in the javelin throw in track and field. And I was at his event a couple years ago and there to support him and congratulate him. And one of the first things he said that night was, "You're in the Hall of Fame, right, Dave?" And I said, No, I'm not, Brian. I would run into Brian a few more times around town over the last couple years at our kids' track meet and whatnot. And the first thing he would say is, "Are you in the Hall of Fame yet?" I'd say, "No, Brian, I'm not in the Hall of Fame yet." And after like the third time, I was like, is he rubbing it in? Or I couldn't figure it out. I was totally fine with not being in the Hall of Fame, didn't really think about it too much, and now I had a complex about it almost. But he knew what he was doing. That next day, I got an email from Brian and letting me know he was going to nominate me for this honor, and here we are. So Sobo, thank you. And I'm glad you could be here tonight. I want to close this thing out. I want to recognize one more teammate, but you know what? I don't think I can do that by myself up here. So I want to invite somebody up here and I want you to give him a round of applause, and I'll tell you why in a second. Josh Schneider, he doesn't know I'm going to do this. Get up here, Josh. Yeah, you don't have to give a speech. My best buddy on the team, my roommate on road trips, and an All-American punter in his own right, who I hope to see up here one day. For 4 years, every time I trotted onto the field in games, practices, many summer workouts, Josh Schneider was by my side as my holder, and he was the best to ever do it. He never mishandled a single snap, not even in practice. He was quick to pick me up when I fell short, and I just hope I was half the friend to him as he was to me. They say the ultimate compliment you can give a player is that they were a good teammate. Josh, you were an exemplary teammate. Thank you for coming all the way from Minneapolis to be here, and as always, I couldn't have done this without you. Thanks, brother. Stay here. I'm getting a little emotional, sorry. All right, let's close it out. Finally, I want to thank my coaches, from Father Casey Bucala, our team chaplain, to guys I respect so much like Greg Debelak, who's now the head coach at Case Western. I had 2 head coaches at JCU, so I want to acknowledge Regis Scaife, who took over my final 2 seasons. I regret that Coach Scaife never saw the best of me, as I had some nagging injuries the last 2 years and didn't perform up to my standards. But we had some good moments, won a lot of games, and I thank him for his leadership of our program. He's a good man. But my parents aside, I stand here tonight because of one man, and that's the late Tony DiCarlo, our legendary coach, who passed away earlier this year, and I'll end with this short story. Many people don't know that I transferred into John Carroll, having attended the University of Toledo my freshman year and competing to start for their program as a freshman. 2 games into the season, they decided to go with the upperclassman, who I felt I had outperformed, but he was on scholarship. And I was redshirted and soon started to realize the big state school environment wasn't for me. Somehow Coach DiCarlo got wind of this, and I received a phone call in my dorm room at Toledo during the winter of 1997. And he said, "David, I hear you might be interested in transferring closer to home. Just know we have a spot on our roster for you if you want to be a Blue Streak." And he even sounded like Vince Lombardi, I swear to God. I was surprised and touched. I thanked him, but I didn't make any commitments, as I wasn't sure I even wanted to continue playing at that point. But I did transfer, and sometime in late June, I got the itch to give football a go again. But in my mind, I figured I could walk right into tiny Division III John Carroll and start right away. And my training that summer reflected that attitude. I couldn't have been more wrong. On the first day of camp, I learned these guys could play, including the kickers who were already on the roster. And I was terrible and searching for confidence. So I never told anyone this story other than maybe my brother Steve. But a few days into camp, I sat down and I wrote Coach DiCarlo a letter. I walked into his office, handed it to him, asked him to read it, and I turned and walked out. And the letter said, "Dear Coach, I know I don't look like the guy you thought you were getting right now, but stick with me, and I promise I'll make it worth your while in the end." He never made mention of that letter, but I know he read it. That night, as teammates were going back to the dorms after the second session of two-a-days, I went to our equipment guy, Jim Pancher, and checked out a bag of footballs. I headed back to the stadium, and for 3 weeks, every night, by myself, well into the darkness, I practiced. I slowly regained my form, and by the second game, I had secured the starting position and went on to have a good, solid first year. And of course, we ended that regular season with one of the biggest games in school history, a crosstown rivalry in blizzard-like conditions with the NCAA playoffs on the line. It was a back-and-forth game. We made a long field goal in the fourth quarter to go up. They responded in the final minutes, and the game went to overtime. On our first offensive possession, Coach DiCarlo sent us out for the game-winning field goal. The snap was back, the hold was perfect, the kick was good. We would go on to make the playoffs and notch Coach DiCarlo's first and only playoff win the following week in Indiana. He would ultimately retire from coaching that next year. So I often think about that letter, as well as that moment. The sheer joy of experiencing something you dream about as a kid, and the satisfaction of delivering on a promise to others and yourself. That kick put me on the map in so many ways here at John Carroll. Because of that kick, I was invited to house parties where my junior and senior, seriously, that night, for the first time, my junior and senior teammates were putting me on their shoulders in celebration. And equally important to me at the time, the junior and senior girls knew my name now. Remember, that was 7 years BC, Chris. Because of that kick, I had the confidence and motivation to train harder that off-season and went on to become an All-American in 1998. Because of that kick, the John Carroll experience was so meaningful that I returned 10 years after graduation to become the Director of Alumni Relations. And because of that kick, I stand before you today accepting one of the greatest honors of my life with people who mean so much to me. My family, teammates, friends, colleagues. I'm just glad it went in. Thank you.
Randy Pausch was a scientist, or a professor of computer science and human-computer interaction and design at Carnegie Mellon University. He is perhaps best known for a formula that was mathematical in nature, but also philosophical at heart. And that is, luck is where opportunity intersects with preparation. It would be too easy to say John Carroll women's tennis lucked out when Michelle Petrillo opted to give the sport a try. But her preparation as an athlete and the opportunity that was presented simply provided the lucky break, and she did the rest. In her final 3 seasons, Michelle was recognized by the OAC as an all-conference player all 3 times, claiming first-team status as a junior and a senior. She amassed a career record of 98 and 38, which included 50 singles wins, and she played #1 singles and #1 doubles in each of her last 2 seasons. She was particularly exceptional in conference play, as she put together a combined career record of 50 and 20 in singles and doubles play against conference opposition. And that included a 22-5 record in singles play her final 3 years. Her biggest victory was when she won her #1 singles match in straight sets in John Carroll's title-clinching win over Ohio Northern in 2004. Her crowning individual achievement was being voted 2005 OAC Women's Tennis Player of the Year by the conference coaches, becoming the first player in program history to earn that award. She was part of a very successful era of women's tennis in which John Carroll captured the OAC regular season and tournament championship in 2004 and reached the finals of the OAC tournament in 2005. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame from the class of 2005, Michelle Petrillo.
Thank you, Chris, and this is very overwhelming. There are so many people here, it's amazing. I want to start by saying, obviously my road to standing here was not conventional, and I am beyond honored to be here and shocked. I think it's still setting in as we all sit here, and I'm hearing about all these amazing things that everybody else has done and things that they're doing with their lives now, and I'm just so incredibly grateful and honored to be a part of all of this with the rest of the inductees tonight. So congratulations to all of you as well. So I think my first experience of figuring out how this was all going to go down was walking into a meeting with our coach, Bruce Thomas, who is sitting down here, and he kind of looked at me and he's like, "So you think you want to play tennis?" And I was like, "Mm-hmm." And he's like, Great. How many matches have you played? Like, how would you do in high school?" I'm like, "Yeah, I didn't." And he was like, "Oh, that's even better. It's fantastic." He's like, "So we have this ladder. You got to play a bunch of challenge matches." And I was like, "Okay." So I went home and I said something to my parents, and they're like, "Well, you're probably not going to make the team." I'm like, "Okay." And they were like, "But we'll be there to support you." And I worked so incredibly hard because my entire life I was an athlete. I played a bunch of different sports. This is what I loved doing. And I wanted nothing more than to be a part of that team. And it didn't matter what the accolades were. It didn't matter what was going to come next. What mattered was that I wanted to be a part of a group of people doing something together, working together. And that is what I got out of my teammates. They were the most loving, kind girls on the face of the earth. I was so very fortunate. I still communicate with many of them. There's stories and things that we talk about. Things that I forget and they bring up, and it's just so, it was just such a great experience, and it was everything I could have hoped that it would have been. So I want to say thank you to my teammates. Every year, new girls came in, and I worked that much harder because I just wanted to keep my spot. So they were a motivation for me, and I hope that I was that same motivation for them because we wanted to be great as a team together. I also want to thank Coach Thomas. I actually still work with him. I'm a principal in one of his schools, and I always felt like I was supported. I always felt like he had such a wealth of knowledge, and he was always willing to be there to tell us what we should be doing differently on the court. And if you ever needed something, you knew that you had somebody you could call. So coming to college, first experience being on my own, figuring out this adult thing, I can't thank him enough for all the guidance that he provided. I also want to thank everybody that's here on my behalf tonight. I have family who traveled. I have coaches from high school, friends, just so many people that are here to, be supportive of me, and I can't thank them enough. And I also would be remiss if I didn't thank my parents. They are probably the two most, I know everybody has the best parents in the world, I know. But they are the two most giving people ever. They've done so much for me in my lifetime, and the sacrifices they made. When I played soccer here that first year, I remember my mom coming to games, like bringing tons and tons of bagels to the bus, like, let's go, and they were always there. My mom came to every single tennis match. My dad came to every one that he could that he wasn't working. So I wouldn't be the person I am today without them. And I hope that my son, I hope I can be half of the parent that they were for him that they were for me, because I'm just so incredibly grateful, and I'm so very blessed. And again, congratulations to everybody who's here tonight. It's such an honor to be here and to leave that legacy behind. And I hope you all have a fabulous rest of the weekend. So thank you.
Our next inductee grew up in the shadows of Grasselli Tower without seriously considering attending John Carroll. That was until a phone call from Coach Dick Mann convinced them otherwise. The neighborhood kid made the neighborhood proud. Cyril Pinchak was an 8-time letter winner, covering the sports of cross country and track and field, and enjoyed tremendous levels of success in both. In cross country, he capped his great career by earning All-American honors at the national meet, placing 31st. Overall, Cyril was a 3-time NCAA Division III national qualifier. He was a 4-time All-Great Lakes region runner, which means finishing in the top 35, placing 5th as a senior, 9th as a junior, and 10th as a sophomore. He was an All-OAC performer all 4 years and was the league runner-up as a junior. Cyril also excelled at many distances in both indoor and outdoor track and field. He racked up all-conference honors 9 different times over the course of his career, 4 times indoor and 5 times outdoor. As a senior, he was the outdoor league runner-up in both the 1,500-meter run and the 5,000-meter run, and as a member of the 4x800 relay. And his senior indoor season was capped by placing 2nd in the 5,000-meter run. In 2006, he was named to the ESPN The Magazine Academic All-District College Track and Field Cross Country Team, and he was an All-Academic All-OAC winner twice. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame, from the class of 2006, the Reverend Cyril Pinchak. Please turn your attention to the video monitor for a recorded message.
I'd like to take this time to say thank you to Dr. Michael Johnson, the new president of John Carroll, for the former athletic director, Lori Massa, and for Michelle Morgan, to Chris Wensler and Dana Fudyak. I'd also like to say thank you to my cross-country coaches from John Carroll at the time, Elmore Banton, Mark McClure, and to the late Dick Mann. Thanks to my high school coaches, Matt Lindley and Jeff Klein, to my grade school coach, Ralph Bruning, to all my teammates and friends, thank you so much for this great honor. I'm a Jesuit, and our founder, St. Ignatius of Loyola, argues that gratitude is the first and most fundamental posture in prayer. So it's a real honor to take time here to say thank you to the places that have made me so great, to say thank you to the people who have made me what I am today. Some of those things that I'm most grateful for from my time running are those memories that come back. Gratitude for the way I was able to experience nature, the way I was able to experience friendship, the way I was able to experience the love of friends, the support of coaches, and the way I was able to take the gifts that God has given me and to do something with them. I'm grateful for the way the fog lifts off of trees and rustling breezes. I'm grateful for twigs, and I'm grateful for that little bit of silence that falls in between each step when runners happen to just catch it right at the right moment and run in unison. I think that those moments of brief silence, those moments of being together in community, running along, was actually what helped me to discern to become a Jesuit and become a priest. I'm grateful for the joy that I found and the friendships that I found. I'm grateful for the way in which there's that common friendship, the way in which I was able to come home one time to my house at John Carroll and find practically the whole cross-country team there doing laundry, having study groups. They gave me hope that the friendships and relationships that I found in running could sustain me and help me find intimacy as a celibate and as a priest. We're here today to celebrate achievement, to celebrate people pushing the limits, and that's important. But I think as I've grown older, I've come to, in some ways, appreciate my limitations. One time I was praying on a silent retreat, and I had a graced experience of realizing that I thought getting to heaven would be like showing up to St. Peter and saying, here are all the things that I've done, and they go on the scale, and if they sort of weigh better than all your sins, you get into heaven. But in prayer, I realized that what really allows us to get to heaven and what really is what we present to God at the end of our lives is our absolute utter dependency on God. And by being aware of our limitations, we're saying, Lord, I need you in this area of my life, and I need you in this area and in this area too. And we get to heaven and we're standing in front of the pearly gates and we say, I need your mercy and love for this too, Lord. So it's a strange thing being a priest. It's kind of weird. But so is being a runner, so I think cross country and track and sports have prepared me well for doing that. I've turned in short shorts for a collar and a black cassock, and I wish that people sort of appreciated running more, as I wish people appreciate faith more, because those of us who have found it really realize that we have the best in life. So again, thank you so much. Congratulations to all those others who are being honored. I'm grateful so much for all those who helped me reach this day, and I'm really grateful, and unfortunately I can't be with you this day, but please know my prayers for you, and I ask you to pray for me as I study here in Rome. Again, thank you, and God bless.
At the time, the thought of hiring a former professional athlete without any previous head coaching experience may have seemed like a gamble at the time. But bringing former professional soccer player Ali Kazimedi in to coach the John Carroll men's soccer team in 1992 was a masterstroke by the late, great Tony DiCarlo. Ali was looking to develop youth soccer in the Cleveland area, and he was ready to coach, and John Carroll had an opening. Perfect timing led to an unprecedented run of success. Ali was the head coach of the John Carroll men's soccer program from 1992 to 2005, and he guided the Blue Streaks to 7 OAC tournament titles. He also led the Blue Streaks to their first NCAA Division III tournament appearance in 2000 and followed it up with 3 more appearances in 2001, 2003, and 2005. John Carroll's best showing was in 2003 when the Blue Streaks reached the round of 16 and finished the season ranked number 14 in all of the Division III. John Carroll qualified for the OAC tournament in 13 of his 14 seasons at the helm. He was the Regional Coach of the Year twice and the Ohio Coach of the Year in 2001. He was also a 3-time OAC Coach of the Year. In his 14 seasons, Ali compiled a record of 177, 76, and 13, and his overall winning percentage of .690 was among the top 40 all-time in Division III at the end of his tenure. He coached 10 OAC Players of the Year, 76 All-Conference players, 35 All-Ohio players, and 24 All-Region players. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame from the men's soccer program, Ali Kazimedi.
Good evening. Thank you very much. This morning, my daughter asked me if I had anything prepared for the speech tonight, and I said no. And tonight, she just asked me, and I said I still don't have anything prepared. So don't worry about it, honey. We'll figure it out. Again, I'd like to congratulate all the inductees. It takes a lot of hard work, obviously, for everyone to recognize all of us, and special thanks to the committee as well. In 1992, I came to this school as a bachelor, 29-year-old. I left in 2005 with my beautiful wife and 2 beautiful presents from her, and my son Ali Jr. and my daughter Z. So thank you, John Carroll, for that great experience during those times. I'll be forever indebted to this program because of what's given me. So, and of course, my son Ali over there, he's the last of the Casamanis, so I often joke with him that he's the torchbearer. So after, so I was under pressure when he was born. I want to have a special thank for Tony DiCarlo. He was the main reason that I came to this program, and it happened at a golf outing, a charity golf outing. He was accompanied by a gentleman named John DeCello at the time, and after we were done playing golf, we were worried about what kind of steak we were going to have, and accidentally we happened to sit next to each other, and I overheard that they were looking for a soccer coach. I offered my services, and the interview was very short. I was hired at that time, and immediately came the next day to work. Met Coach Straub, who's no longer with us here, God bless his soul, and after a little bit of an orientation about the values of John Carroll, I was greeted by Chris Wensler right here, and after saying welcome to John Carroll, immediately he asked that we should defeat Hiram College. So, so I knew I had my hands full at that time, but was ready to take on that task. So my story is not about sports at all. I was born in the Middle East. Those of you who have been around and know the history with that, my country, Iran, went through a revolution in 1979. I was 13 years old at the time, and fortunate enough that my parents cared enough for me to ship not only myself and my siblings as well overseas so we wouldn't get caught in that revolution. So I arrived here in 1979, didn't know where I was going to go, ended up in Cleveland, and didn't know that this was going to be home, and a great home for the rest of my life. One thing when I left my mom and dad, that they always stuck with me, a lesson that my dad used to talk to me about all the time, and it's the gift of giving. So he always preached to me about being thoughtful about what I do and make sure that I understand to give all the time. And he always stressed that the smallest things, kindness, never goes unnoticed by the Almighty, and the smallest wrongdoing also as well doesn't go unnoticed. So be good as long as you're around. And that was the last time, really, in 1979 that I was with my entire family in the same room. My dad passed in 2013, so technically I can say that really 1979 was the last time that myself, my mom and dad, my brother and my sister were in the same room. So I've taken that advice from my dad seriously. So when I stopped playing professional soccer, I was searching to go, all right, what does it mean to give? Where can I go to give? And when the opportunity came to come to John Carroll, I thought that was a great vehicle that the Lord has put in front of me to practice in what I'd learned in my younger days. So when I step on the soccer field and coached, my intention wasn't about the sport. It was to use the sport of soccer to teach life lessons. And every one of my teams that won the championships used those lessons, and they understood what it meant. And I'm humbled today that some of my players are here. They've traveled distances to come and see me, which again, I'm very humbled, and I want to thank them for being here. And that's what it was all about for me coming to John Carroll. And I want to thank John Carroll University for being a vehicle for me to practice my giving. And I hope that all of you guys that are here, as you leave here tonight, think about that. And if you haven't thought about it, you could look to give every chance that you get, because it comes back. So again, thank you guys. Thanks, John Carroll. And thank especially all of you for sharing this great moment with me tonight. Have a good evening, and God bless.
This next inductee can probably lay claim to having helped the 6 student athletes that were inducted here tonight one time or another, so really they owe him as much for tonight as anyone. Although Don McPhillips would never expect that kind of adulation, in his view, he was just doing his job. And he's been doing that job as the head athletic trainer at John Carroll University exceptionally well for almost 30 years. Donnie Mack is being honored for devoting what amounts to a lifetime of outstanding service to the varsity intercollegiate athletic programs here at John Carroll. The next school year will mark his 30th year of experience at this institution, where he has supervised over 250 student trainers and has administered to the health and well-being of approximately 5,000 JCU students, athletes, during his tenure here. Hired as the John Carroll head athletic trainer in the summer of 1988, McPhillips has been responsible for all administrative aspects of the John Carroll athletic training department. Among his duties has been to serve as a site coordinator at various NCAA championship events, teaching classes for 17 years as part of the Department of Exercise Science here. And he has assumed the role of medical director when John Carroll has hosted the 1989 Division III Wrestling Championships as well as the 2009 Division III Volleyball Championships. He's a licensed athletic trainer by the state of Ohio, as well as a certified athletic trainer by the NATA BOC, which is the longest acronym I've ever heard of. In 2013, Don was given a JCU Silver Circle Award for his 25 years of service to the John Carroll University. I am honored to call him a lifelong friend and colleague, and now I ask all of you to please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame, Don McPhillips.
First, I'd like to thank, again, the committee, everybody here tonight, to listen to all of us for this great honor that we've been inducted for. Ollie, kind of like you, at 5 o'clock today, my staff asked me what I had written down, and I had nothing. So I'm still working on that as well. So, as many in the room here has mentioned today, I also have to give Tony DiCarlo a very huge thanks. As Chris had said, in July of 1988, he gave me a call out of the blue because someone gave him my name that I was looking for a job. I was expecting to get a high school job, but in high schools, a lot of times they don't hire until mid-August. So I was starting to get nervous. He called up, said, hey, can you want to come up and take a look at John Carroll? Our athletic trainer just left. I said, yeah, I can make it up there this afternoon. I'm pretty close. Came up, met with a few other people, and he gave me the job as on an interim basis, and 31 years later, I'm still here. I've been very fortunate, what I would consider the golden age of John Carroll, with the people that I've been involved with. I came in with Kathleen Manning, Jerry Schweikert, John DeCillo, Tony DiCarlo. Those individuals are icons here at John Carroll. And they still, and I'm very happy that they've mentored me along that path. Many of you in this room have been touched by their athletic prowess and coaching ability. And it's very true that they care as well as we all care about John Carroll. I'd love to thank my staff that I've had over the years. When I started here, there was myself and 3 students. Now we're up to 6 people. We have maybe about 10 students that help us out, so I've been very grateful for that as well. Lori Massa helped with getting us more staff to really try to help and serve our athletes better. We have over 600 athletes now. We go from 6 in the morning until 10:30 at night. So we need as much help as we can get. I'd love to thank Jamie Hurley, he's out here. Julie Prusak, Brittany, Ryan, Michelle Davis, Paul Spacuzza, another great mentor for me, to use his years of experience in Major League Baseball to really shape our program as well. And all the other individuals that we've had over the past. Athlete-wise, I've seen many of you, and what I would always say is, I have chapters in my book because I have stories on every one of you. And sometimes I use those stories as kind of a blackmail if I need something. And I could say I can always call your bosses, especially the GMs and stuff that we have out there now. I have a little dossier on everybody that I can always press on them. I'd also like to thank my parents, my sisters. When Chris said I had the Silver Circle Award, the person that doing the interview at that time asked me, why did you choose athletic training? For those of you who don't know, I have only one hand. And they asked, why did you choose a profession that uses your hands a lot? And I had to really think about that, and I'm like, I'm not real sure why I did that. But then as I reflected on it more, I knew that my parents, my sisters, my close friends, my family never treated me different. They expected just as much out of me as they expected out of anybody else. And that always drove me to be better, to put in a little bit more time, to do what I can, so that it isn't what some people might call a disability. I call it a different ability. And I think that's what you really need to look at. So I really want to thank them for really pushing me and not treating me any different. And I think that's very, very important. I'd be remiss for not mentioning my wife, who's no longer with us, who is a member of the 93 team, and luckily I get to sit with the best looking table here with all those ladies down there. My kids, who are busy with their own sports, my mother-in-law who's here, my youngest daughter, Samantha, who's here. So I really want to thank them as well for supporting me this entire time. I really also want to thank this guy, Chris Wensler, for being here, a very good friend. He's going to go through some difficult times coming up, and everybody's going to need to pray for him as well. And we're glad, and I'm glad that you were here. So thank you very much.
Allegheny College had ruled the roost in the President's Athletic Conference, swimming and diving, for 8 consecutive years, from 1973 to 1980. And there were many years no one really threatened their domination. But along came an upstart program from John Carroll University, which first fielded a program in 1975. They had finished 6th in their first league championship and then jumped up to 2nd place the next year. While they were runner-up, they were so far behind Allegheny it seemed inconsequential. But each year they got closer, and they got to within 58 points in 1980. Suddenly not so inconsequential. In 1981, the Blue Streaks began the year by finishing 2nd at the Greater Cleveland Invitational, and then they won the Notre Dame Relays, the first and only time a Division III school had won that event. They weren't invited back. John Carroll then went 7-2 in the dual meet season, with the only 2 losses coming against defending national champion Kenyon and a 1-point loss to defending PAC champion Allegheny, both on the road. This set the stage for the much anticipated PAC championship meet, which was held right here at John Carroll University. The Blue Streaks led after day 1, thanks to having the top 5 divers in the 1-meter diving competition, as well as a 1-2 finish in the 50 free. On day 2, another 1-2 finish in the 200 free helped the Blue Streaks maintain the lead, as did a win in the 800 free relay that broke the PAC and pool record. On day 3, Allegheny got to within 15 points of John Carroll after the miles swim, but a 1st and 2nd place finish in the 100 free swung the momentum back, and the Blue Streaks never looked back. A sweep of the 3-meter diving podium and a victory in the 400 free sealed the deal, a first ever PAC championship for the Blue Wave. The 1981 team featured 7 conference champions, 6 All-Americans, and would go on to finish in 7th place at the NCAA Division III Championships, which is still the high water mark for a John Carroll team at that NCAA championship meet. JCU had 7 national qualifiers in 1981 and an All-American 800 free relay, which set a school record that stood for 29 years. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the John Carroll University Athletic Hall of Fame the 1981 men's swimming and diving team.
Thank you for that warm reception and everything. Kathy Manning, you're over there. Will you wake up Jerry Schweigert? Bev, his wife, told me he usually goes to bed after the late news, which is the 6 o'clock news, I guess, at your house. So if Jerry could wake up a little bit. I'd like to recognize all the members of the team that are here this evening. And I'd like to recognize them by name, but they gave me a 3-minute time limit. By the time I called all the names in that, I'd probably be out of my time in that. So I'm going to ask all of the members of the John Carroll University. Give me a break, I'm old. All the members of the 81 John Carroll swimming team, please stand. Stay standing if you can. Stay standing, guys. Stand up. Stay standing. You got to remember, these guys are, it's 37 years since we won the conference championship and came here as a team for the Hall of Fame. And these guys are old, so they got to stand up, get some circulation going in those legs and that. I'd also like to ask to stand, to be recognized with the team, my 2 daughters that are here, Heidi and Heather, if you'd stand up. Heidi and Heather were like the team mascots. They were the ones that ran around on the pool deck during practice, kept things alive. At the end of practice, Heidi would pick up all the kickboards and put them away. Heather would take all the kickboards and throw them back in the pool. But they were part of that team, and we weren't just a team, we were a family. And every family has a mother. And that mother was my wife, Cindy. And Cindy's no longer with us. But she cut many of these guys' hair, not today, but she cut many of these guys' hairs. She ran the timing system for the swimming meets. That's probably why we had such a great record. But she was as much as a team as I was, and if she was here tonight, she should be standing here alongside me. I'd also like to recognize my present wife, Jane. If you could stand. Not many people in their lifetime get to have 2 famous women and great women in their life. Jane, I really appreciate you being here. While you guys are standing, I want to bring out something. As you checked into the hotel today, I noticed that some of you are still carrying some John Carroll equipment around with you. This is a team travel bag, and inside the bag here are some items I confiscated from some of the players or some of the athletes as they walked in. These were the warm-up pants that we wore at the time. Obviously, this is somebody that was vertically challenged, very short pants. My AccuSplit stopwatch that was missing after the last meet, found that. And then this must have been our trip to Chicago, to the Playboy Club when we were working out up there. So. But anyhow, I make sure these can all get back to the athletic department. You guys can sit down now. Let me first of all start by congratulating the other members of the 2018 John Carroll Athletic Hall of Fame. I'd like to also recognize and thank the Athletic Department, the Blue Gold Club, and the Hall of Fame Selection Committee for this great honor. And a special thanks goes out to Tim Freeman. Tim was the person who not only nominated the 81 team, but helped move the application through its process. So Tim, are you here? Thank you very much. See either Paul or Hal, the check's in the mail for that, Tim. Appreciate it. You know, having been associated with athletics my entire life, working at several universities in the area of athletics, I can safely say that I never thought this point in time would come when I'd be standing before you representing the 1981 John Carroll Swimming and Diving Team as they entered the Hall of Fame. Since the '81 season, several of our members that are here this evening have been also recognized by the Hall of Fame, and if those individuals would stand up, those individuals that individually have been put into the Hall of Fame for John Carroll. However, a team, a whole team, going into a Hall of Fame is indeed a unique privilege and a unique honor and a unique achievement. This is a special group. It was never about me, but it was always about we. Never ever felt this intense passion of seeing a whole team, not just 27 individuals, but a whole team. How awesome is that? Be inducted into an elite group of Hall of Fame members as these John Carroll University men. Let me tell you a little bit about this team, though. It was not about one swimmer, one diver, and I think you heard, you know, we had kind of swept the diving at the conference championship, or a coach, but it was an effort on all the parts of all those individuals that brought us here this evening. The swimming and diving team here at John Carroll began in 1975, and as someone mentioned earlier in that, I literally went from door to door, knocking on the doors of students that lived in the resident halls and that, and saying, do you know how to swim? Are you a lifeguard? Do you have WSI? And that was my first recruiting class, and I was somewhat astonished when they showed up for the first day of practice, and some of them, when we went to do the starts off the starting block, did the life-saving jump, and most of them couldn't even make it to the other end. One young man, as I recall, made 50 yards, and he stopped and he says, is that it, coach? It was the 1650, which is the mile. He had 1,600 more to go. So it was a long haul. But the 81 team was my first recruiting class. And I think the thing that best sums it up is a quote by Henry Ford that talks about the experiences of bringing people together. And it says, coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a process, working together is success. A number of these team members that are here this evening were not individual champions of their particular events, but they were the guys that pushed the other guys to be better and to make them move forward in that. Always looking for a position on the team, but also recognizing that their job was to make competition and practice daily so that our guys got better. The seniors on the team and the leaders, the top point scorers soon recognized that it was about trust. And they trusted the team members as they were looking for a spot on the lineup. But they were doing so because they cared about the team. It was always about the team. And that's what we're here about tonight, the 81 team. They embraced this idea and this concept and the truth and faith in knowing that they would not be denied and they would emerge as victors no matter what races we were in. In closing, when I was at the reception earlier this evening, somebody asked me, what were some of the keys to success? What were the things that actually made this team what it is and why they belong in the John Carroll Hall of Fame? And what came to mind is a couple different things, and I jotted them down while we were sitting at the table. And one was good communication, a focus on goals and results, everyone contributing, supporting each other both in and out of the pool, good captains and good senior leaderships, but most of all, we had fun along the way. On behalf of the 81 team, I'd like to thank you all very much for this opportunity, and I know that there's some awards down here that I'm going to present to the team when we conclude. So thank you again, and God bless.
Well, this concludes the formal portion of our event this evening. First of all, I want to say a few words for a point of order, I guess. One is that we want to make sure that we get a picture of our individual inductees together as a group, so don't leave here before you've done that. And we also want to get the members of the 1981 swim team in a separate picture all together as well. So please do not leave before we do that. Secondly, certainly I want to echo some of the thoughts of earlier that we want to thank some people here. Dana Funyak and Candace Pluhar for really doing a lot of the legwork behind this event. So please, we give them a round of applause for all their work tonight. I certainly want to thank the Aramark Dining Services as well for the dinner and their service, of their prompt service for getting the food on the table quickly, and so we could get on with our event. So I certainly want to thank them. A round of applause for the Aramark people. Just a reminder that we're going to honor the inductees at the halftime of the football game tomorrow, so we can celebrate them one more time again tomorrow. So if you have any questions about that situation, you can certainly talk with Dana after the dinner and make sure we get all the details on that. So I want to thank everyone for attending this evening. I know a lot of people came from great distances to be here tonight, and I hope that this was definitely a worthwhile endeavor for you. So this concludes the 2018 Athletic Hall of Fame dinner. Have a great night and a great weekend.